Hi, it's Catherine with Cat Math Tutoring, and today I want to talk about factoring. Factoring is a very important skill, especially in algebra and pre-calculus and calculus. It will follow you through all of your math classes, and it's something that takes a while to learn. So I'm going to do a couple videos on factoring. And the first factoring skill you want to learn is how to factor out a GCF. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to assume you've done a little bit of work with greatest common factors with GCFs, and I'm just going to start right in. Before we start factoring, I'm going to remind you of distribution, which is kind of like the opposite of factoring. So if you have something like the number 2 that you want to multiply into this polynomial x plus 3, you would want to distribute that number 2 into both the x and the 3, so you're multiplying it to both. So you have 2 times x is 2x, and then this one, 2 times 3 is 6. So this would be the resulting polynomial after you did the distribution. Well, that's distribution. Factoring is just the opposite. So with factoring, you take something like this, the 2x plus 6, and you factor out the common factor, which in this case is 2. Do you see there's a 2 right here, a 2 times x, and there's a 2 hidden in the 6. This is 2 times 3. So when I pull that 2 out, I factor the 2 out, when I pull it off the x, all I have left is the x, and when I divide it out of the 6, all I have left is the 3. So after I do my factoring, I just make sure I've done it correctly, and I distribute to make sure I've done it correctly. 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 3 is 6. So it looks like I did it right. Let's try another one. So another one might look like 3x plus 12. So can you see the common factor here? There's, I haven't spent a long time on how to find the greatest common factor, so I'm assuming you have some experience with that. So here the common factor is 3. There's a 3 here, and the 12 is 3 times 4. So when I factor the 3 out, this becomes 3 times x plus 4. And then I double check to make sure that's right. 3 times x, does that give me 3x? Yes, that's correct. And 3 times 4, yep, that's 12. So this is the factorization. This is the factored form of this original polynomial. Okay, let's try another one. What if I have x squared plus 2x? What's the common factor there? It's not 2. 2 doesn't come out of this, the first term. 2 comes out of here. You can divide that by 2. The common factor here between these two terms is x. X is what I can divide out of both of those. So if I pull the x out in front, I factored it in the front. I could also factor in the back, which is fine. But if I put the x in the front, when I divide the first term by x, all I have left is x. One x outside the parenthesis, one inside the parenthesis. That'll make the x squared. And then from this term here, I'm pulling out the x, so what I have left inside the parenthesis is the 2. So let's see if I factored that correctly. X times x, that's x squared, that's this term. And x times 2, that's 2x. So I've done that correctly. Now please note, I can also, because this is multiplication, I can multiply in any order. Multiplication is commutative. So I could also write this x plus 2 times x in the back. That might become important later. Let's try another one. So how about this one? 4x squared minus 20x. So here I see I have an x common to both terms, but I also have a number that's common to both terms. Do you see what it is? Do you see what the common factor is? They're both divisible by, 4 and 20 are both divisible by 2, but is there something greater? Is there a greater common factor? And the greatest common factor between 4 and 20 is 4. So 4 is what I'm going to pull out. So if I pull the 4 out in front and the x, which is common to both, let's see what I have left over that I can put in this parenthesis. let's see, I factored out the 4, I factored out one of the x's, so what I have left inside the parentheses is an x. And then for this term, don't forget to put your minus sign down. I divide the 20 by 4, I get 5, and I factored out that 1x. So this should be the factored form of that polynomial. Let's double check and see if we got that right. So 4x times x, that makes 4x squared, that's correct. And 4x times negative 5, that's negative 20x, so that's correct as well. All right, let's take it up a notch. Let's do them a little bit harder. So I want to create a worksheet, and I'll link it down below with more practice problems like this. So the next one, this one is 18x squared y minus 9xy. Okay, what do they have in common? I see here this one has an x and this one has an x. I can pull that out. This one has a y and this one has a y. I can factor that out. This has a 9 and this is 9 times 2, so I can factor a 9 out. So let's see what that looks like when I factor everything out. So I pull the 9 out in front, the x in front, and the y in front. And here, what I have left inside, see the 9 came out, so the 2 goes inside the parenthesis. 9 times 2 is 18. One of the x's is out here, outside the parenthesis, so this is an x squared, so 1's going to be left inside. And the y came out, so we don't have a y inside the parenthesis. But what about this term? Can I just leave this blank like that? Let's see, let's multiply this stack together. 9xy times 2x, well that only gives me my first term. So I'm going to have another term here in my parenthesis. So even though here everything factors out, the 9 comes out, the x comes out, the y comes out, you still need to have a placeholder. You need to have that number 1, something for this 9xy to be multiplied to so that you get that last term. Okay, so that's the factored form for that one. Let's try another one. I want to show you this one. This one looks a little unusual. What about z squared minus z? Now feel free at any time to pause the video and try it on your own and see what you get. So here I have a z in here, and I have a z in here too. I don't see any numbers they have in common, so the z is what I'm going to factor out. So here when I factor a z out of the first term, I have a z inside the parenthesis. Here when I factor the z out, I'm going to have that 1 here inside the parenthesis. So if there's 2 terms here, when you factor out a GCF, there should be 2 terms in your polynomial. The next one I'm going to show you is something similar to something that textbook Saxon would do. If you're using Saxon, you are familiar with seeing some like these. They get a little bit big, but it's good practice. Oof, it's almost not going to fit on the screen. Let me try and move this down. Oh, you got all that? I hope you can see all that. Now let's see what they have in common. I see an 8 here, a 4 here, and a 2 here. So I see 2 as a common factor. I'm going to list it in the front. Now let's check through the m's. I have an m here, 2 m's here, 2 m's here, and 1 m here. Well, I only have 1 to pull out because I can't pull 2 out of this term. So I'm going to pull one m in the front. Now let's check the x's. I have x squared and just 1 x here and 3 x's here. So that means I can only pull out 1 x. Now let's check the y's. I have 4 y's here, 2 y's here, and 2 y's here. How many y's can I pull out? I can pull out 2. So I'm going to pull out the y squared. And finally the p. I have 1 p here, 1 p here, and 2 p's here. So I can pull out 1 p. Okay, now let's see what we have left. So when I factor all this beginning stuff out of the first term, see I divided away the 2, so I have a 4 left inside. I took one m out, so I have one m still inside. I have one x out, so I have one x inside. I pulled two y's out, so I have two y's inside to make it y to the fourth. And the p came out, so I don't have anything left inside. Okay, now let's do this one. So I'm checking with what I've pulled out. I pulled out a 2, so that means there's a 2 inside. I've pulled out one m, so there's another m inside. I pulled out the x, so it's no longer inside. Pulled out two y's, and I pulled out the p. So I only have the 2m left inside. And the last one here. I pulled out the 2, pulled out the m, pulled out one x, so I have x squared left here. Don't forget to put your negative sign down, your subtraction sign. I pulled two y's out and just one p, so I have one p left inside. Phew! So this should be the factorization of that polynomial above.